Yeah, I don't know, man. You ever just feel like life is just catapulting towards some greater purpose?
Pampered fat cats with bloated ego. We are the only DJ crazy enough to tattoo Jackie Brown on his ass.
This is Michael Mann, and I ride with
Extended Clip.
Welcome to Extended Clip. It is episode 449, and I'm one of your hosts, Eddie Averill.
I'm Malcolm Baum.
I'm JT White.
And joining us once again for the annual Baby Bobby Franco Halloween Mindset Takeover, Rob Franco.
Hey now.
Now, as much as I want to center this introduction on, per usual, bringing a guest back, I feel like, much like an analogy I've made before on the podcast about someone being a guest on their own show, as a stranger in their own house during a failed marriage, JT is a guest on his own show, a stranger in his own house. JT, you have not been on the podcast in about 3 weeks, and we are so glad that you finally came back from the corner store with cigarettes.
Yeah, I'm glad you're taking me back, baby. Look, those things that I said when I left, I was really drunk, and I don't my hand slipped. I wasn't trying to do anything.
Oh, God. Jesus Christ.
But no, I am I'm happy to be returning to the podcast after some time off to shoot this lovely little movie. Yeah, I don't know. I've missed chopping it up with the boys, even though I did see all three of you in person during my little LA journey. It feels good to be back.
Yeah, but I saw JT the filmmaker while you were out here. I didn't see JT the podcaster.
You got big timed by Hollywood JT.
No, quite the opposite of big timed. I saw JT after a day. Were you shooting that day? I don't know.
Yeah, we shot on the beach with Rob.
Shot earlier that day and seemed very tired, and I was also tired, and I was like, well, this is a great
reunion.
Yeah,
that was when the Phillies were stomped brutally out of the playoffs by your Dodgers as well, so energy was depleted on a variety of fronts.
Yeah, that was pretty fun. That was like, JT is jet lagged and shooting an early morning thing, and then it's like 10 o'clock, and I'm like, so the Dodgers did just, benefit from the first team to ever get eliminated off of an error from the playoffs in the MLB. The first series-ending error of all time.
Really?
And,
wow.
Yeah, literally the first series-ending error of all time. And the Eagles just got shellacked by Cam Scattaboo and Jackson Dart. I'm going to have my LA friend come over while I'm in LA from Philly. So, the spirits were obviously very high that night.
It was very oppositional. I could kind of feel the tension in the room between you two, couldn't connect as much as you guys would like to, because of your allegiances.
Yeah, well, you know what? Here's the thing. There's Eagles fans and there's NFL fans. There's Philly fans and there's Dodger fans. But there is no division that comes with being a John Carpenter fan. And that is the reason that we are here today to talk about the 1980 film by John Carpenter, The Fog. Now, this is a film that I see some pretty divisive reactions about online in my particular circles. I see some people say that it's one of his best. And I see some people rank it toward the bottom of their Carpenter rankings, And the first time I watched this movie, I can't say I loved it, but every time I've gone back to it since, it has grown on me, and this was no exception. I think that it's Carpenter's most purely atmospheric movie, and obviously that comes through the title, the fact that the monsters appear out of cinematic atmosphere lends itself greatly to his aesthetic-based storytelling, there are times where he's in economic storytelling mode, like Assault on Precinct 13, for example. That's a very economic movie. And then there are times like The Fog where he's just floating in the vibes. And it took me a while to appreciate that side of Carpenter versus the stripped down bare knuckles of Assault on Precinct 13. But I have grown to really love this film over the years. Malcolm, what's your Fog relationship? Are you guys in a situationship?
Situationship? Yeah. No, I wouldn't quite say that. What I would say is that I had a pretty similar relationship with it, and that the first time I wasn't so grabbed by the plot, and then the second time I watched it, I was just really soaking in the amazing visuals. And now the third time, I feel like I'm splitting the difference, where I feel like I did not love this as much as I did last time I watched it, but at the same time I still enjoyed it a good amount. But I guess I have some sympathy for some people who feel like maybe the plot is a little thin,
Yeah.
They wish there was they wish the plot was as thick as the fog, but
That sounds like a perfect metaphor,
Yeah.
or even like litmus test for what someone gets out of this movie.
Yeah. But I still enjoy this. I love the location, like the Northern California locale, and it's nocturnal vibes. It does have its fair share of daytime scenes, but I love the nighttime scenes. That's when it really kicks in for me.
By the way, just a sidebar before I kick it over to one of you guys, I want to say that speaking of cities of atmosphere and colorful atmosphere, when I look to Malcolm right now, he's being framed by Roku City because my big screen TV is directly behind him. So Malcolm's head is like the angle I'm at, it's like he's on a rear projection stage and his head is in Roku City, and like the ad for Arby's and Jimmy Fallon's The Brand are passing through him like it's Blade Runner 2049 or something. And it's really cool. And, I think that Roku City would be a great place for a horror movie.
Absolutely.
Now, Rob, I remember you having a little trepidation about this one, correct?
This for a while was like one of my least favorite John Carpenter movies. I don't know.
Okay.
I just, for some reason, because my first experience watching it was like when I first got into Carpenter, and I was watching all of them for the first time, and it was hit after hit after hit. And then I got to The Fog, and I don't know, like, it's kind of not as punchy as some of the other ones. And then I revisited it like 2 years ago, and I kind of was still lukewarm on it. And this time I liked it so much more, just because, I never had a problem with the vibe of it. And so this time watching it, I was kind of just focused on immersing myself in that world. And I just love anything in like a seaside town. I love a good lighthouse. So like that's what I was kind of just luxuriating in, was that whole aspect of it. So I big time liked it more.
Yeah, I'm glad to see that you're taking that path that both me and Malcolm described, and also like just the idea of one of those movies, like it's a subgenre of movie where a radio host is kind of the center of the town, like that town being a coastal town where that radio host is in a lighthouse is the coolest idea ever.
That lighthouse, I want to live in that lighthouse, man.
Yeah.
That is what
I want to
it's all
record
about.
there. I want to do a podcast in a lighthouse so bad. JT, what about you? Was this a rewatch for you as well?
Yes, it was. I feel like I watched it for the first time in like 2020 when I was going through some of the Carpenter sort of odds and ends. And I can't say I had exactly the same experience as you guys, because I liked it at first. I don't know, definitely not among my favorites, but I think it's still a pretty great movie. And yeah, I don't know, the overall feeling of it is one where I like how the narrative just pops around to a bunch of different people. I enjoy getting like that sort of like full focus on like a little town or like little group, like how it does, and I enjoy when other horror movies, I feel like, take that approach. And in general, I think like by the time I had seen this for the first time, I was already familiar with the great Eddie coined phrase, Tom Atkins Ownage. The appeal of just like having, I don't know, like someone like Tom Atkins. Like, it's a really weird kind of collection in the cast, and they're all actors that I generally like. Some obviously who I'm not as familiar with, but I think are good like character actors. So it's fun to see them kind of chew the scenery too, even if it isn't like something as like high stakes or intensely like propulsive.
Yeah, it's definitely not as propulsive, and you know, like the Carpenter score for this one teases at that a little bit when it gets into that kind of repetitive, almost percussive synth score that reflects a lot of the musical ideas of his theme for Halloween. The score gets like more sad as it goes. It's like I don't know. It's just a little more melancholy than a lot of his other horror movies, and doesn't have that kind of like action men on a mission Hawks thing to it until the very, very end. And even then, it's like getting into some like mysticism stuff that, I don't know, it just feels a little more ethereal and hard to pin down, you know? And when he goes into these supernatural realms, it's not always like that. Think about Prince of Darkness. Prince of Darkness, which is my favorite Carpenter, remains extremely Hawksian the entire time.
I'm glad you brought up Prince of Darkness, because I kind of took a note that structurally, like on a very surface level, they're really similar in terms of just like how it's set up. Obviously, things happen differently, but yeah.
Well, here's the biggest thing for me is that Prince of Darkness uses dreams in a narrative function, you know? Obviously, that's like the scariest part, is that like videotape kind of dream message that gets in there. And then this film opens with the Edgar Allan Poe quote, "Is all that we see or seem but a dream within a dream?" And to me, everything in The Fog feels quasi-Lynchian and surreal. Like, it feels so off. Like, this mystical seaside town is so like hyper artificial, and the way that he evokes or invokes Hitchcock through both Janet Leigh and the driving scenes of Adrienne Barbeau, which are very much like the ones from The Birds, really, like, I don't know, evoke a sense of the Hollywood Dream Factory idea where all of those movies existed in this like surreal other world.
Yeah.
And now movies are starting to get more realistic, obviously, but Carpenter is just like existing in this ethereal dream state in The Fog. And that's why I love this movie, is because like it is his most atmospheric movie in that sense. In that atmosphere is, I don't know, to me, slightly more surreal in its like quasi mid-century nostalgia, like Americana nostalgia, than like any of his way more actually like crazy movies where crazier things happen than hook-handed pirates emerging from the fog, you know?
Yeah, you bringing up The Birds.
They mentioned Bodega Bay by name at one point.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this is a big core of the canon that is Northern California mysticism. I'm thinking The Birds, maybe, I don't know, play Misty for me. I don't know if it gets quite mysticism type. It's just set there, you know what I mean? But I feel like The Birds does a similar thing where it does kind of play into like an artificiality, just kind of the ideal of these kind of foggy Northern California towns that you could kind of see driving up to Half Moon Bay or something like that. It's such a beautiful scenic place that it is like, I don't know, you kind of can't help but think of like what's really going on here, you know what I mean? It's so overwhelmingly beautiful in those places that it's like it's almost a perfect place to kind of mine for some sort of kind of, just weird things going on.
Yeah, there has to be a balance in the evil either under the surface or in the air that we can't even see, you know? And also, I think it's important to note that this film, after it flashes that Edgar Allan Poe quote, it starts with like an old sailor telling the story of what's about to happen to a group of kids, just like adding to the dream within a dream, story within a story mysticism. And man, it's just like such a great introduction to what this film is trying to do with the sailor telling the story, the Edgar Allan Poe quote, and the camera just like raising in a way that makes it more look like the old sailor's lowering into hell over the vista of the ocean. And like one of many insane shots in this where it's like the blue of the sky and the ocean just completely mix. And it's just some of the greatest imagery in all of Carpenter. And I think it just like is a statement of purpose in the sense that it's telling you how to watch the film as an aesthetic forward thing that exists in a more ethereal, dreamy realm.
Yeah, I agree with all that.
No, I was, one of our favorite sub-segments, light research.
Yeah.
I think Carpenter, he watched the film at first and was like, kind of like, there's a couple things missing here. And that was one of the scenes he shot, the campfire scene. So like you kind of framing it as a guide in how to watch the movie. I really think Carpenter meant it in that way because it is, without that story, it is kind of like, this is like maybe the most unknown villains of all time, just some dudes in the fog, or I guess we don't even know if they're, just some people in the fog with some hooks and some weapons, and it's funny that Carpenter watched it's like, I think I need to give a little more not too much more, but a little bit more context.
Also worth noting, to me, just a connection that came to mind is that's the same introduction that Godard uses in the short In the Darkness of Time. And the same camera move and everything. And then I realized later on that segment from In the Darkness of Time, that wraparound scene, is from one of his features. I don't remember if it's from like Notre Musique or Forever Mozart. I think it's Forever Mozart, but regardless, a nice little rare Godard Carpenter comparison.
Yeah. And I'm sure John Carpenter has some really choice words about the films of Godard.
Exactly.
I'm sure he really loves those movies. And something I kind of noticed about this movie is because I feel like I said, it's not as punchy as other Carpenter movies, and I feel like he, in terms of pace, has like kind of like just a real, not super fast pace, but like it's everything happening in those movies is like exciting, despite having like the structure of like a Hawks movie of like the hangout vibes. There's still something constantly exciting going on in most John Carpenter movies at all times. I felt like this movie is intentionally dragged out in a way that's kind of different from all of his other movies. I mean, like, normally, like, when I think of a John Carpenter opening title sequence, the score is really loud. It's like, think of like Assault on Precinct 13 or Halloween or Escape from New York. The score is like there. It's just it's like another character. It's like we're introducing this force. There's no score in the opening credits. It's like ambient noise, and the opening credits is like it's going on until like 13 minutes into the movie.
It's crazy because this movie is like 88 minutes too.
It's a 90-minute movie. It's really short, but it feels more like an hour 50. Not in a bad way, but like in a way where it's like thinking about time and really taking its time with certain things. More to the point, like all the action does not happen until like the last 20 minutes.
Yeah, which is funny. That's just like the other movie we're going to talk about today. But also the opening credits, the way that they're deployed over such a long time, that's another way that this is like the other side of the coin of Prince of Darkness, where that one has a super protracted opening credit sequence, but it's with the super heavy synth music. And like, if I remember correctly, it has cuts to black between the little scenelets for the credits that it shows.
I think you're right.
But hey, if I can't remember, that just means I'm in for another rewatch
Oh, yeah,
of what
baby.
might be my favorite Carpenter movie, which we'll talk about later also. I'm thinking about maybe a Carpenter rank later. But regardless, let's stick with The Fog for a while because we've barely talked about it. Adrienne Barbeau plays a radio DJ who owns a small local station that only broadcasts overnight. That is the perfect idyllic world that she lives in. She can, live in this beautiful seaside town and support her son off of what is essentially a part-time radio ownership, which just, as I said earlier, sounds like the ultimate fucking life. You also got the father played by Hal Holbrook, who is the first person we see experience anything going awry in this town, as he's closing up shop, as it were, in the church. This rock gets dislodged and reveals this old notebook full of basically a prophecy of what is to come that happened 100 years earlier. You also have Tom Atkins as just like a genial man about town with a pickup truck who picks up a Jamie Lee Curtis fresh out of not San Diego, but Pasadena, which is a great little meta note since that's where they shot Haddonfield of Halloween just, a couple years earlier. And let's see, you also have her kid. You have Janet Leigh. Is Janet Leigh the mayor or just like the most important lady in the town?
Unclear.
Seems to be
It's-
the
Yeah,
mayor.
she's like the woman about town, I think.
She's at least doing mayoral type duties.
Exactly, yeah. And anyway, so it's this ensemble that we cut all throughout in between until a lot of the characters converge, but not all of the characters, but a lot of them converge toward the end as these hook-handed pirate monsters who live in banks of fog slowly take over this town. And it's first noted also by the horny weatherman who calls the hot lady doing the radio station. And it's like the perfect like a coworker thing where his other weatherman, like when he comes in, he's like, oh yeah, your girlfriend's on the radio waiting for you, like any girl you talk to at work is your girlfriend, and I think that dynamic is hilarious, and the way he gets killed is so funny too. It's just like, I feel like he's a great example of the tone of this movie of like the kills aren't that brutal, honestly, and Carpenter's kind of having fun. Like it's suitable for something that like, it's not like this movie could have came out in the 50s or early 60s, but it's closer to something that could have came out in the 50s or early 60s than so many slashers of 1980.
Yeah, it totally could have. I mean, like it's.
Yeah.
I would say in terms of like graphic imagery, it's like close to like Night of the Living Dead or something like that. So I totally see it being like more of a vintage drive-in type of movie.
And it's very classy the way he skips over the sex scene. We cut from Tom Atkins picking up Jamie Lee Curtis and opening a beer for her in the car to them post-coital exchanging names in classic Tom Atkins Ownage fashion.
That had to be in his contract,
No
right?
stash, by the way. No stash on Tom Atkins in this one, which takes a little bit of getting used to.
Yeah, it's no stash, and also the hair part is a little different. Like a lot of times he'll have it slicked back when he's like a cop, especially like on Rockford Files. But here he's got it forward, kind of quasi proto slacker a little bit, with no stash either. It's like the least authority driven Tom Atkins look that I've ever seen, probably.
A little more relaxed, a little more clean cut, maybe.
Yeah. That's the only physical description of an actor or actress we'll give on this podcast.
Well, no, you're talking about the horny weatherman. Wasn't Adrienne Barbeau? She married to John Carpenter? Or am I?
Yeah, he was married to Adrienne Barbeau at the time of this movie.
Oh,
Okay,
wow.
yeah.
So that makes sense. There's a lot of love in the camera for her, like her being basically the hero and moral center of this movie as a cool radio DJ lady is like the ultimate Hoxian dame homage by Carpenter.
Also, yeah, like, with the horny weatherman and the brief mention by the guys on the boat, one of the first fog kills, they're kind of into it too. It is Carpenter's like, we're gonna write into the movie. Everyone wants her. You know what I mean? But we're not gonna do. It's not gonna be anything sleazy. But we're just gonna set the standard here.
Also, as far as just like establishing an aesthetic at a certain point in time, I think that this movie is really important for a movie I prefer. And one of my favorite horror movies ever, which we talked about last year, Halloween 3, because Tommy Lee Wallace was both the production designer and one of 2 editors on this movie. And then he goes on to direct Halloween 3 and uses some Carpenter music and also uses Tom Atkins. And I feel like, in a way, this movie is like, even though this movie probably has more love than Halloween 3, to me, in the history of horror movies, this is like the setup for Halloween 3 more than anything.
Yeah, maybe that's where the Tommy Lee and Atkins met on set or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. Who knows? But yeah, as you said, Rob, or who was it was it you, Malcolm, that said that action only takes place in the last 20 minutes or so?
It was me.
Oh,
that's
was
a
you,
smart
Rob.
thing.
Okay, yes.
That's a win for me.
I was telling Rob that before we recorded.
Yeah.
No.
I
We
was
don't
giving him
talk
a
when we're
couple-
not on the pod. I won't associate with you guys when we're not doing business.
I gave him some pre-warmed up.
No, that's a lie.
topics
It's a
that
lie.
he
No.
Yeah,
could
these are some really
dig into.
cool things to say on the show, Rob.
I handed him his script.
No, but I love how this movie is operating at such a high aesthetic level from the get-go, but then once the action kicks in, it goes even harder. I really didn't think I never think there's going to be an overdrive, because it's within 10 minutes that you're like, this is the most beautiful John Carpenter movie.
Yeah.
And then once it's really kicking into overdrive, you have that scene of Tom Atkins with Jamie Lee, and there's something swinging in the background to disrupt the light source, and so Tom Atkins keeps basically fading into complete blackness and obscurity mid-conversation, and I think it's when they're at that boat investigating the first kill.
Okay.
And I don't know, man, lighting like that is so rare to find in Hollywood movies. It's so expressive and so insane, and it's one of my favorite just little setups in a conversational scene in any Carpenter movie, because when you think about the aesthetics of Carpenter movies, it's usually of an action scene, a horror scene, something that's establishing stuff. It's not usually a conversation halfway or 2/3 into the movie, but that's an image I can always think about. Anyway, JT, if you were in this town of Antonio Bay, who would you be hanging out with, you think?
I want to say I'm not sure. At first I was going to say cruising with Tom Atkins, and then I was like, I don't really like the sound of that. But
Sounds fun to me.
The cast of characters, I mean, other than that, I would probably be co-hosting the show with Adrienne Barbeau. There's
Actually,
not,
I would, because she would be my wife, so that's, yeah.
Oh, interesting.
I don't want to be hanging out with any children or old ladies or at a scary church. So I feel like that's kind of the spread there. There's something I was thinking about throughout that I don't know if these two places are kind of cosmically connected or not, but in this movie, Northern California really reminds me of New England. And I feel like it's just the general the story itself feels very Stephen King sort of Salem's Lot. Salem's Lot in particular, I thought of this being a much more truncated version of that, because it's has the whole town aspect. And obviously I prefer that movie. But I think the way in which the villain is these weird ghosts from the past that are defeated by the big gold cross, all of that feels the sort of repressed American sort of nightmare that Carpenter's tapping into here does feel significantly more of a New England kind of a vibe, a classic horror thing like that. But it does,
The Lighthouse especially.
Yeah, the lighthouse. Yeah, exactly. But it does feel like, I don't know, the Carpenter spin of like, again, well, it's cooler. It's gonna be in Northern California. Fuck like New England. Yeah.
Yeah, they ain't even got Reefer there. They got Reggie. Stephen King was blazing that Reggie.
True.
Rob, any final thoughts on The Fog and a bullet rating?
Final thoughts. I would be hanging out with the sailors. That's for sure. Those are who the people I'd be fucking around with. And I'm gonna go. I was going back and forth on this one. I'm gonna go 4 bullets because I do think it's one of his most beautiful films. Some of those shots of just overlooking the water with the lighthouse and the fog, it's just so gorgeous. Yeah, I'm gonna go 4.
JT, what about you?
Yeah, I'm going 4 bullets on this as well. I think it's great. I mean, I would definitely agree that I don't know, just one of his most gorgeous, and I think it's pretty like fun and simple. Just a pretty light, breezy time, and the fact that you just like hop around from character to character. I don't know. I just enjoy that environment.
Malcolm?
I'm gonna give it 4 bullets. I just love it's like, especially the opening, like it's kind of like these exploration of like these nocturnal environments, like the late night radio DJ, the late night grocery store, the gas station. There's not even anyone. We just see cars at the gas station, and like that, and that kind of setting the stage for the fog to roll in. It's just I just love that environment for a movie, and kind of just I love kind of the silence of those moments before we get into the plot and everything. And the day to night ratio, I did mention this earlier in the episode. I'm during the daytime, I feel like there is kind of just a lot of feeling the wheels grind of the plot, and then we get in once the nighttime and the fog rolls in, that's when the visuals are really popping off, and that's when all the stuff that makes this movie so great is really hitting. So there's maybe like a light zone out, but I think he makes up for it in the end with what he delivers. And we've all mentioned the big shots of the ocean and the night sky, like with the fog rolling in. Like this time, with my cinephilic history being more rich, I was like, this is reminding me of Solaris, kind of just like that the abstraction of just seeing this big body of water and the fog rolling over it. And it's such a beautiful movie. I also watched Christine for the first time maybe like 2 weeks ago.
So good.
So good. And obviously I feel like what they kind of were working on here, they brought to Christine with the great nighttime photography. That one being more car, like if the fog is the fog, then Christine is car lights, right?
Yeah, exactly.
They use the deployment of car lights. But these obviously I don't know if they're back to back, but they're
no, Christine's a little later.
A little later. They're within 5 years of each other. I don't know. I kind of pair them in my head now, maybe just because I've both watched them recently.
They're both really blue.
They're both really blue. I love and sometimes when movies are too blue, it could be annoying. But obviously, that's when it's in the hands of lesser talents. When Carpenter and Cundy are working with the blue, they do wonders with it, and it's one of the great blue. We should do a month where we should just do blue movie. Or we should do like colors month.
Colors month.
Yeah, I would love that.
Man, following up colors months with shapes months.
Yeah.
We should really start theming our programming in the most abstract ways.
I mean, that's when we would really need Lex G for the color-coded sheens,
True.
Yeah. I'm also going to complete the cycle here, the 8 cents, really. I'm going to go 4 bullets as well. This is one that, like, it doesn't rank among my very favorite Carpenter movies, but I really love it still. And I think that, as I said earlier, it's his most atmospherically successful movie. And there are images that I always think about, such as the fog rolling in from the point of view of the sailors looking through the porthole with, like, that red light inside the ship and then all the blue outside. Just an incredible image that, yes, is very Solaris-esque, but also kind of reminds me of, like, silent film tinting a little bit.
Yeah.
Anyway, great film. We'll be right back on Extended Clip.
Do you know off the top of your head how the score goes, Eddie?
Yeah. Dun, da, 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 da.
Yeah, okay, so this is my version. Suck on my penis. Suck on my penis. Suck on my penis. Suck on my penis. I was doing that all day yesterday at work. All fucking
That's good. That's good. I like that. I like that a lot. And we're back on Extended Clip. What I wanted to do here, now, ranking John Carpenter, look, I have a list, you know. There's 24 entries on it. We're not going to all sit around in a circle and go 24 rounds on a ranking right now with 4 of us. So I think what's even harder, though, is to just put together a top 5. Because the thing with Carpenter is you have, like, your big obvious masterpieces, but then every Carpenter fan has the, like, perceived lower tier one that they think is a masterpiece too. And myself included, of course. And it's, like, really all about how you rank, like, your 6 through 13 almost is, like, what makes people's Carpenter rankings stand out. But I think that's the challenge that this presents. And I'm looking forward to seeing if we're all going to go a little more consensus, a little more out there. Let's, you know what? Instead of going one number at a time, though, like we've done before,
Yeah.
I'm going to go each person at a time.
All right, yeah.
I'm going to start with you, Malcolm.
Okay.
Counting down from 5. What are your 5 favorite John Carpenter movies? And another asterisk, I should say, your 5 favorite John Carpenter movies right now.
Yes.
Because this is a filmmaker that we all rewatch a lot, and things can change.
Absolutely. I mean, I feel like whenever we do these rankings, I'm like, I feel like the order is like a lot of the times it's like not all of it, but there's like it's very influenced by what I've watched recently.
Some recency bias.
Some stuff is more fresh in my mind.
Sure.
But I think I'll, it's just looking at it, I'm like, is this what I truly, But all right, let's go for it. All right, 5, I will go Christine.
Ooh, wow.
Christine. Number 4, Prince of Darkness. Number 3, In the Mouth of Madness. 2, They Live. 1, The Thing. Am I a hipster for not including Halloween in my top 5? Or
I think
is everyone going to join me?
Any notion of that is replaced by you having The Thing number 1.
True, The Thing is
Yeah.
kind
If
of
you
a
have
chalk
The
number
Thing
1.
number 1,
You could do whatever you want.
you're allowed to put Ghosts of Mars number 2.
That was Ghost of Mars was
It's up there for
in
me.
contention for the 5 spot, but
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. But
yeah, no, that's a very strong list. JT, what about you?
Oh, God damn it. This is tough. And it also, I don't know. I mean, what you've all been saying so far, it just feels wrong, any iteration I've tried to do. But I'm going to say number 5 for me is Halloween. Then at 4 is Starman. Number 3, I'm going to say In the Mouth of Madness. And 2 is Christine.
Oh.
And number 1 is The Thing. I really, really love Christine. I don't know why, but like the a car turning you into an evil rockabilly is something that is just like it really tickles me. And I would for the longest time I said it was my favorite Carpenter, but I haven't rewatched it yet. I think I'll probably rewatch it this year, and see if that holds true. But until then, I felt like I don't know. I felt more comfortable saying The Thing.
I was gonna say that, like, our lists are going to be very in the mouth of madness heavy because like we did a very hardcore episode on that one years back that I feel like really like laid down the gauntlet on our horror taste, just kind of, because that was like our first real horror episode.
Really?
Well, it was like the first one where it was like, it's Halloween, let's do a huge horror thing.
Okay.
And we did Dream Warriors, Last House on Dead End Street, and that movie is a triple feature.
It was New Nightmare, not Dream Warriors. Come on, Eddie.
Oh, yeah.
So it was like a hardcore horror movie episode. And so that movie looms large in this podcast. But this is a Christine heavy podcast. We got to do a Christine episode soon.
I think so. I mean, it is that movie is just funny. Like, just the concept of it is super fun, and the performances, and just like, you know, just a guy who's like a nerd at school, just, you know, gets the sick car and kind of becomes the man, but then he doesn't, you know.
Also, like, the bullies in that are the funniest age disparity in like a high school. Because like Keith Gordon already looks old, you know?
Yeah.
But like those bullies like 40, you know?
Yeah, that bullying scene, something that's going to stick with me forever is the main bully taking a knife to Keith Gordon's lunch and the yogurt oozing out. something about the yogurt effect of that bullying scene. There's some real genius to the yogurt oozing. I'm really into the yogurt.
I really need to rewatch Christine.
Me
It's been
too.
way too long. That's a really fun movie that I remember being like kind of shocked by, like, because it's a little more fleshed out, you know. It's closer to 2 hours. It's one of his longer movies, and it has a lot going on. But you know what else does? I was really happy to see JT mention Starman, which I feel like these days is getting the love that it should, but always had been kind of underrated in the Carpenter canon.
I guess just a extra disclaimer, I haven't seen Starman, and I haven't seen any of the Escape movies, Escape from New York or LA. No.
Dude.
Yeah.
I just almost had like a Tarantino finding out what Hawk Tuah meant moment. You haven't seen Escape from New York? No, dude, that's insane because you're one of the bigger Carpenter fans I know, but I know that, like myself, sometimes you like to save a little treat for yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah,
you gotta have a rainy day pick.
It's like me with Bridges of Madison County. Still haven't seen it.
That's crazy. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
It's not even intentional, that one. I just, for some reason, I feel like I'm such a horror nut that I wanted to watch all the horror ones first, and I just haven't prioritized the action. But I love They Live, obviously, with my placement, so I need to do my homework.
But They Live's like a horror action movie.
Sure.
I don't
That
even
is true.
consider it a horror movie.
You don't?
No, it's like sci-fi action. When things like lean to sci-fi, then I'm start to question whether or not it's horror. I don't know. It's a weird thing.
Is Alien a horror movie?
That's a tough one for me because the first one is, and then the ones after that, it's like, eh.
Yeah. No, I would agree. I think a lot of people are in the same boat that Aliens 2 feels like an action movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or Aliens, not Aliens 2.
Aliens. Well, Aliens 2 is David Fincher's one. Alien 3, technically.
True. They
in
that
like
was
the
real.
Rambo 2 fashion, you know.
It was really confusing for me when I would go to the rental store and I want to see Alien 2, and they didn't have it, so I went home.
Well, I got 3.
Yeah.
Well, I can't watch that one. I haven't seen 2.
Rob, what about your top 5?
Okay, so I'm going to go for number 5, and I am not necessarily confident in having this as my number 5 pick because I haven't seen it in a while, and I've only seen it once with JT at the New Beverly. We saw Assault on Precinct 13 years back, so I'm going to go that for number 5.
Hell yeah.
And then 3 and 4, I have a toss-up on because... So I'm going to go 4, I'm going to go Prince of Darkness, which I saw last year, rewatched last year at the New Bev, and loved it. I loved it the first time, but I loved it even more the second time. And then for number 3, I'm going to go In the Mouth of Madness, which I haven't seen in a while, so I don't know if it will... Maybe I'll like Prince of Darkness more when I rewatch In the Mouth of Madness. So, okay. 3 is In the Mouth of Madness. 2, Halloween. 1, The Thing.
Nice.
Yeah.
Can you run through what was 5 and 4 again, real quick?
5, Precinct 13. 4, Prince of Darkness. 3, Mouth of Madness. 2, Halloween. 1, The Thing.
Okay. That is an extremely good list. First mention of Assault on Precinct 13, and that is definitely his most like hardcore, just straight up action movie.
Yeah.
Other than like it's that and Big Trouble in Little China.
It's action, but
like,
it's action that it's like it's not a horror movie, but it's pretty horrific.
Yeah, but like I would say his other action movies all have a secondary genre like sci-fi.
Yeah,
like
sure.
Big Trouble has sci-fi, and so do the Escape movies. Obviously, the Escape movies are more sci-fi than they are action. Even I would say Big Trouble is more action than sci-fi, though. But yeah, no, I mean, look,
Hey, I'm just glad Michael Myers got his flowers.
Michael Myers
Yeah.
always deserves his flowers. I like the thing is. Carpenter is a guy with so many rarity B-side type movies that nowadays none of them are rare because the internet has flattened that
Sure.
all. But like movies that maybe used to not be as accessible that are like secret masterpieces. But there's also a reason that his 2 most iconic movies are The Thing and Halloween. Like they are masterpieces.
Yeah.
You know, like I if someone puts those 2 top 2, I'm not going to be like, yeah, they have chalk consensus opinion. Disregard that. It's like, no, those are fucking masterpiece movies.
I think Halloween's great, but like I guess I don't consider it like a 5 out of 5 in
Yeah.
my I feel guilty for some reason. I want to love it.
I could
love
see
it more,
it though because
but-
it's so early and he clearly develops into something else in the 80s. Like,
Yeah.
but I just think that the rawness of his 70s movies, of Precinct 13 and Halloween specifically, are just like you can't fuck with it. Like it's just so sick. I don't know.
I feel like I watch it a lot, like
Yeah.
because it it always gets released around this time in theaters. So
Yeah.
I'm like, that's a movie I'll watch at least 20 more times in my lifetime.
Now, here's the thing. I feel like I hold a certain responsibility on this podcast. I've been called a lot of things, the producer, the host, the list master.
The list master?
And these are just the positive things. Wait
Yeah.
till you hear all the things. But as list master and as the messiah of the fellow listists out there,
Listians.
I feel that the Listomanians.
There we go.
I feel that it is my duty to give a full filmography
Oh.
ranking of John
my
Carpenter.
God.
He's unloading the clip. Extended clip moment.
So I'll do like a chunk at a time, just
All
so
right.
we don't get overwhelmed here.
So you give us some air to react to?
Yeah.
Okay.
So first stuff, odds and ends, counting down from 24, student film, Captain Voyeur, then pro-life, cigarette burns, someone's watching me. None of these are real movies.
Dude, Cigarette Burns
just-
is sick. I just want to say Cigarette Burns is fire.
I highly disagree. I think the script of Cigarette Burns is like the worst thing that Carpenter ever touched.
Well,
It
I
is
will
so
say the
corny.
person who wrote Cigarette Burns blocked me on Twitter and sucks, so I'm with you. Fuck them.
Yeah.
No, but I just think like, the premise of it is like corny and like overly like referential almost, and like I just don't like the vibe of it at all. I almost like how hateful pro-life is more than how like quote unquote fun Cigarette Burns is.
Are any of these movies? I've never seen any of these. Rob gave some love to
They
Cigarette Burn. Are any of these
they were
good?
on that series where it's like an hour-long horror shorts.
Okay.
Masters of Horror.
Yeah, well, those two are,
Those
and then
two are.
Someone's Watching Me. Someone's Watching Me is a TV movie that he directed in '78, so he had made a feature by then.
Okay.
And it's good. It's
good?
just a TV movie, and it's like a voyeuristic horror movie, but like the limitations of TV impose themselves on it. But it still has some sick shots.
Okay, so all these movies are good. All right.
Well,
Oh.
not the. I don't like the Master of Horror ones,
Okay.
honestly. But I think Someone's Watching Me is a
So
solid.
starting at
Yeah.
someone's watching me.
And there's another TV movie coming up that's ahead of some of the features. Next chunk, 20. Memoirs of an Invisible Man. Then The Ward. Then Dark Star.
okay.
Then the TV movie Elvis.
I've heard that one's sick.
I really like it. I think it was Nick Newman who said it was like an American Edward Yang movie, and that's just because it's fucking long as shit, and like especially it aired on TV, so it had to be like 5 hours on TV because it's already 3 hours, you know. But it's just like really down to earth and like tasteful and really like sweet, and Kurt Russell is just so good in it, and I don't know. It's not great, but it's good. And I like Dark Star, but I think about Elvis more. You know, I used to have Dark Star ahead of it, but I'm swapping them right now.
I watched a little bit of Memoirs of an Invisible Man on like a hotel TV, and it is funny how much that doesn't feel like a John Carpenter movie. Chevy Chase really alphaing in the room, I guess. It feels like a Chevy Chase movie. It felt like I was watching
Apparently
Fletch.
they had a very contentious relationship.
Oh, wow. That does not surprise me whatsoever.
Two titans of industry, you know, someone's got to come out on top. They can't, you know, they can't work together, I guess.
Now, the next chunk is where it gets real fucking good. The 16 to 13. Number 16 is the final TV / non-real movie, Body Bags.
Oh,
I love Body.
I love Body Bags.
Dude,
love Body Bags.
I fucking love Body Bags. His two segments are awesome. Toby Hooper's segment is awesome.
Which one's the Hooper one? The hair one?
No, the Eye with
Eye.
Mark Hamill.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Hooper one is awesome and disgusting. The hair one, though, the Carpenter one, because like he is clearly losing it at this point. You know, he's like balding as this crypt keeper type guy who they make even uglier. But just Carpenter at that time is like long hair but balding, and making this whole thing about a guy who wants to have long hair. And there's a needle drop of Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, Almost Cut My Hair, that makes me laugh so fucking hard every single time I watch that. And then the gas station thing is just like a perfect little 20-minute chunk of horror that's very much like the gas station
great.
scene in The Fog.
no, the gas station stuff is very like I could reference that in my mind. Like I remember all of that. Like
Yeah,
it's
awesome.
very distinct to me. Yeah.
To me, that's like what's that Jay-Z song? Lyrical Exercise.
Yeah.
That's John Carpenter's Lyrical Exercise. It's just him flexing. Like, look how easily I can craft like a 25-minute self-sustained horror thing at this gas station.
Yeah, effortless.
John Carpenter, the Jay-Z of filmmaking.
I mean, there's
No, not at all.
the JC of filmmaking.
The Jay-Z of filmmaking would have to be someone much more corporate minded later in life.
Oh, true.
Yeah, but we'll save that for another discussion.
Hear that, Jay-Z?
Yeah. But anyway, that tier. Then you get the super underrated Village of the Damned. I like that movie a lot.
Never saw it. Yeah.
It's very creepy and funny. And then I'm gonna go 2 action movies back to back: Escape from L.A. and Big Trouble in Little China, 14 and 13. Then the next 4: Vampires, Christine, Escape from New York, and Ghosts of Mars coming in at number 9, which I think is the most like non-consensus pick left on the board, is Ghosts of Mars making it top 10 for me probably. A lot of
Ghosts
people
of Mars.
still hate that one, but I love it. We did an episode on it like 4 years ago.
So awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
Rob-
was right outside my top 5.
Are you a fan, Rob?
Yeah, I like Ghost of Mars. I gotta rewatch it. It's been a while.
Then moving into the 8 through 6, Assault on Precinct 13, The Fog, and Starman just misses my top 5, which is comprised of Halloween, They Live, The Thing, In the Mouth of Madness, Prince of Darkness.
Nice.
Now, In the Mouth of Madness and Prince of Darkness, it kind of depends on what mood I'm in. Like, I go back and forth on those two. It's so hard to say.
Yeah.
I'll say either of them are my favorite Carpenter movies. Right now, I'm going Prince of Darkness, though. Yeah. It's so fucking good. Anyway, that was the Carpenter rank. And now, the podcast is over. Make sure you join us on Patreon for $5 a month and get an extra episode every single week. Thank you, Rob, once again for joining us. And thank you, JT, for returning to the podcast. Is there anything you would like to say to the listeners as we sign off here to your first episode back in the saddle?
I've missed you all so much. And I'm sure you've missed me even more. So you're welcome.
Also, email us at extendedclippodcast@gmail.com. It's just happens to work out this way that we end up reading our emails on Patreon episodes. I'm not trying to hide them. It's just that way. So email segment on the next episode. Goodbye, everybody.
There's carnivorous bats, there's bats that eat fruit, and then why do we call bats vampire bats? Did we initially think at one point in time they were sucking blood?
There are some vampire bats. They're found only in Latin America now.
Oh, so they're real.
I think a pedophile conspiracy, but beyond that, it's a vampire conspiracy.
All that we see or seem is but a dream within a dream.
And now that's all the top scientists and billionaires are coming out saying it's a false hologram. It is artificial. The computers are scanning it and finding tension points where it's artificially projected and gravity's bleeding in to this universe. That's what they call dark matter.
May I share something with you?
Okay.
A vision I had in my sleep last night, as distinguished from a dream, which is mere sorting and cataloging of the day's events by the subconscious. This was a vision, fresh and clear as a mountain stream. The mind revealing itself to itself.
All that we see or seem is but a dream within a dream.
The mind revealing itself to itself.